Welcome back, everyone, to episode 5 of the Spartan Journal podcast, Miami Beach edition. To start off the discussion, we'll dig into how to properly use a credit card, the U.S. easing tariffs against the U.K., and what investment strategies do most millionaires use to accumulate wealth. In the main topic for this episode, we'll touch on the surging topic of non-fungible tokens and where that will take us. To start off this discussion, we'll hear from Nate, where he'll talk about the use of credit cards and how to properly use one.
Yes, sir. So I'm really excited about this week's topic. Last week, I touched on how to shop for a credit card, right? Well, this week, I talk about how to properly use that credit card that you find. Now, I find this a very important topic because a lot of people can get into trouble not knowing how to properly use their credit card, right? We see a lot of parents trying to tell their kids not to get a credit card because they're scared of some of the trouble they may get into. However, that can hinder them from receiving a credit score and building that credit while they have the time before they hit the workforce. So I'm extremely excited about this article, and go ahead and check it out on the webpage and let me know what you think.
Yeah, there's a lot of great resources on our website for Nate's story, so make sure you check that out. So next topic, we're moving into Matt's this article about the United States easing tariffs against the UK.
Yeah, so in the past week, the United States eased tariffs that they had against the UK. These tariffs were talking about how the United States and the UK weren't really happy with how the fact that the UK was giving subsidies to Airbus and the US was giving subsidies to Boeing. But both nations recently reduced these tariffs. And if you want to learn more, you can check out our website at Spartan Journal. Or WMA.com, actually.
Yep. And next we have one of our members, Vincent Buccillo, is here with us. He's the Spartan, he's the producer of the podcast, the other podcast that we offer at the Wealth Management Association. And today he talked about a book that he's been reading where it talks about like what investment strategies are most millionaires using to accumulate their wealth. Welcome, Vincent.
Thanks, Jake. No, happy to be here. So really what my article focuses on is not only what investment strategies millionaires use to get to where they're at now financially, but also the stats that make up what the characteristics of millionaires are. In other words, the book was based on a study of one of the biggest studies of millionaires ever done, over 10,000 millionaires. And then Ramsey Solutions, the company that completed the study, compiled all these stats about millionaires, and it's really incredibly fascinating. So I really highly encourage you to read my article and then go read the book that it's based on. It's called Everyday Millionaires by Chris Hogan. Really encourage you to do that.
Yeah, and also a quick plug, Vincent actually recorded a podcast with him, so it'll be coming up in the next couple weeks, so look out for that. Now digging into the main topic, we'll talk about non-fungible tokens. So I'll pass it over to Justin. He'll give you a bit of a debrief.
Appreciate it, Jake. So non-fungible tokens, NFTs. We decided on this like last week, which was funny because I feel like today, Monday morning, so it's March 8th, I'm seeing articles in the Wall Street Journal about non-fungible tokens, which is crazy to me. So it's coming all over the place. So what is that? NFTs, they are cryptocurrency-like. That's one way you can think about them. They're digital assets, so they're bought and sold on a blockchain. We can definitely get into that in the conversation here. But what makes them different than other cryptos is they're indivisible, which means you can own all of it or you can own none of it, an NFT. So you can't own individual shares of it like a stock or maybe Bitcoin. You either own the entire asset like a piece of art, or one of the examples we can talk about is the NBA Top Shot, which is basically a video, a GIF. You either own all of that asset or you own none of it. So it's a very interesting concept, very new out there. So open the floor up to you guys. What do you guys think about these new digital creations that are just coming out of nowhere?
I'm excited. I love it. I love what they're doing from the standpoint of digital assets, digital art, and then kind of combining that with the utility of like sports cars and playing video games. Like that's something I really love about this whole NFT thing is it's combining so many things that we enjoy and we love, and then combining that also with the potential of the future in terms of crypto. Now, there have been a lot of NFTs out in the market recently, and it's kind of been making it so that you aren't sure what's a good investment or and what isn't. And so it's been making it very hard just to say, okay, I'm going to put my money here. I'm going to put my money here. And at the end of the day, that's where I feel like the trouble comes. We're just not certain where the potential can really be from like a longevity standpoint. It just seems like everything's being thrown at us all at once. But from a longevity standpoint, just taking away all the assets and all the NFTs that won't be here for the long run, I think this has the potential to really be something that can be a game changer for us.
Yeah, Nate, when you talk about longevity, like I have like a couple questions regarding like the scarcity and like the number of NFTs that are out there, because anyone can just make an NFT, right? Like anybody can do that. And like with trading cards, shoes, there's like a number of these items. So there's always like there's supply and demand, but with NFTs, can't you see like it being oversaturated with NFTs and the price will go down? It won't have that appeal like it does now.
I think it's all based around utility. Honestly, I think for some NFTs, they're definitely oversaturated. They're definitely overpriced, I'd say. Like, for example, there is this tweet. I forgot whose tweet it was, but it was an NFT tweet.
Yeah, Jack Dorsey.
Yeah, Jack Dorsey.
Yeah, upwards of 2 million for the tweet. I'm like, what? Like, what purpose is that for? And I think that's all based around the hype of NFTs at this given moment in time. But then we shift over to NBA Top Shot or my particular favorite, So Rare, right? So the utility standpoint is it's like a trading card game, but it can also be seen as like a game, like something you just go in and have some fun with, like a mobile app. And with So Rare, it's funny because I love FIFA and it has a lot of FIFA aspects to it. And not only does it have FIFA aspects, but it has a lot of trading card aspects. And so these are things that we're seeing that are both in the real world and in the digital world from a gaming standpoint. And it's both things that people love. Like people really enjoy these things, and they're combining the two from the standpoint of this can go forward from a longevity standpoint. So you have trading cards, right? There's a set amount out there, and so what So Rare is doing, it's a soccer-based game where you can open up packs. You'll get players from these packs to put in your fantasy league team. But the cool thing with NFTs is like you own those individual players. So it's saying that, say you pack one player and there's 100 of those players out in the market, right? You have one of those rare players. So there goes into that scarcity standpoint, that scarcity piece, which allows that player, if he's doing well in real life, for his value to go up in the digital world. So then say the player goes up like 100%, 10,000%, something crazy, right? You're able to trade the digital asset for currency, like for the now. And you can't really do that in any other game, like trade something that's going on in the real world for something digitally, and then digital into the real world. And so I feel like that's something that can go for a longer period of time rather than just buying an NFT with a cool little goofy cat. Like that serves no purpose. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm interested to seeing or hearing what your guys' thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go quick, but I was just want to say, like, I get like the utility standpoint, but you also have to look at it from like the historical standpoint too. Like, for example, Jack Dorsey's tweet, that's the first ever tweet ever composed by anybody. I mean, he's the creator of Twitter, so he obviously has that right. And I think that
$2 million.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's historical, and that's kind of what I look at it as. And even if you look at like other pieces of artwork, like they might like a blank canvas one time was sold for like $19 million. And they didn't buy it because it was the blank canvas. They bought it because that was the first ever piece of artwork that was just sold as a blank canvas. And I feel like it's more just like that historical standpoint. I do think that a lot of the prices are inflated. And I was just looking at like the Top Shop site, and some of them are like $20,000-$30,000 for like a 10-minute video clip. Like, yeah, you have the ownership rights to that, but like it's pretty much just a rich man's playground at that point.
That's really interesting. But Nathan, something I want to touch on that you said earlier is that I'm really interested to see where the supply and demand of NFTs goes. Like obviously it's a fairly new concept right now, and people are getting into like we said, like Jack Dorsey's tweet is going for, I think the last time I saw it, the bid was at 2.5 million. That's what I saw. I could be wrong on that, but it was something to that level. So it's just absolutely insane. But Matt, to your point as well, like people want to be involved in that historical factor, right? And I feel like that's really appealing to some people to be part of something new, like to be part of the Renaissance or to be part of like the what's new. So I'm really interested to see within the next few like even 2 or 3 years to see what demand is like, if this is actually a market that people want to tap into, like regular ordinary people.
Right. This brings up the question, who is buying these? Like what people are buying these, right? And so like I was looking at this article and it says that the highest bid for that Jack Dorsey tweet was from, I think it's Sina Estavi. She's the CEO of Bridge Oracle platform. So it's just a bunch of wealthy people just throwing money away. That's how I see it. They just have no other way to spend their money. And this is just another avenue that they can play. It's like a playground for rich people.
Yeah, that's kind of what I touched on earlier, and I kind of relate it to like Logan Paul getting really into Pokemon cards, where it's like, yeah, good for you, like you're buying a bunch of like rich Pokemon cards, but like I don't know. I mean, it'd be nice if I was that wealthy, but kind of from our standpoint, it's just like a lot of people kind of don't really see the value in that. So,
Bro, I'm not selling my Pokemon cards anytime soon. I'll tell you that.
I still have them stuffed inside of my attic, and I mean, I don't think half of them are worth anything, but maybe someday.
Yeah, and it also goes to the point that it's just stuff that you like. Like a lot of people can invest or buy things that they really enjoy. Like, and I don't want it to be a misconception that like all things are a bidded price in this NFT world. Like some have a fixed price where you can buy it for $10, $100, and then you're able to own that asset, own that NFT. And so I'll point to one of the GOATs, Warren Buffett, when he says, invest in things you know, right? I wouldn't invest in art if I have no particular interest in art, right? If I don't understand that really is based around the reputation of the artist or the hype at that given moment in time, right? But if you have a specific inclination towards basketball and you understand basketball players and you feel like you might understand them better than anybody else, to where you might be able to come up on a player that everybody's sleeping on, but you're not because you're up on your stats, and then hold that player and then see his value grow. That's something that hasn't been brought to us in this digital world. And also, like I'm saying, I keep reiterating myself. It's just continuing to bring a standpoint of things we love, things we really enjoy, and the investing world. And I feel like with those two combinations, it's limitless possibilities to happen, because at the end of the day, people are enjoying themselves. Now, of course, things are pretty overpriced at this moment in time with specific NFTs. And I feel like a lot of the NFTs you see now won't be around in 2, 5, 10 years. But in terms of investing into things that you enjoy, I feel like there's a lot of things out there. So go and understand what NFTs are, but also be able to take the time to be able to tell somebody what NFTs are, so you can be able to understand what you're actually getting yourself into and have a conversation like we are.
That's a great, yeah, there's so many great things that I wanted to address. So I wanted a couple things. You're talking about art in the future too. Like I see, so Grimes, who is Elon Musk's wife, if anybody doesn't know, she just sold a bunch of like 10 pieces of art as NFTs. So talk about art in the future. She was speaking how she might only offer some of her pieces of art in this form. So you're like, to speak to the scarcity point, I do think that there's going to be a difference between the high quality, NFTs and the ones that are just, like you said, I can't remember who said it, but a kitty on a coin. Like there's going to be a difference between the Doge coins and the Bitcoins, I think, so to speak. The beauty of, Nate, I'm curious about your soccer example, because NFT Top Shot, I know, or NBA Top Shot, the beauty of that was that they actually partnered with the NBA. So all of those gifts, like one that sold for $200,000 of LeBron James, that's partnered with him. Like he's in on that to some degree. So I think that there's a lot of power in that aspect as well. Like you're saying, if a lot of the different athletes are able to monetize it, because we're seeing a lot of athletes want to become venture capitalists now. That might be a big opportunity.
Yeah,
I do like that point. How I'm sorry, but yeah, I mean I think that's one of the good things is that like these people that are creating these artworks, they're like getting royalties for it, or they're getting compensation for their pieces of work. I think that's pretty good. Sorry
Yeah,
for
It
cutting you
opens
off,
up a
Nate.
you're
this
all
opens up
good,
a
bro. You're
huge
all good.
marketplace for artists because before, like, you couldn't sell your work on the internet like this, and this just offers artists way more avenues to get their work out there to the people. And that's I don't quite understand all this, like this crypto punk, there's like not that many bits in it. They go for like a couple $1 million. I don't understand that, but I do understand like how people are making money off their art now. They have like 3D visual art. They could make it an NFT, and then they can make money off that. And then, like you said, they can then get royalties from that, which is something that they have not been able to do before.
Yeah, just going off that so rare piece. So for the soccer example, they're getting ownership rights from these individual teams. So it's not like they're just taking the teams, their players, their logos, all that, and then monetizing off of it. They're getting the permission. And for sports cards, for trading cards, that's a big thing too, because if you don't have the ownership rights for those specific teams, you're going to end up with some wacky badges that look like some off-brand stuff, and you don't really want that because it's going to mess with the value of your product. But from that, then you'll get a percentage or a commission. I'm not sure how it works, but with NFTs in general, every time, like, say you're an artist, right, and you sell your piece of work, you'll get a small commission from that. But every time in succession that work is sold, you can continue to get a small percentage fee of the price that it was sold for. And so, like, that's a utility that serves artists because they continue to make money off of the art that they made, say, years and years ago. So it provides the residual income, the passive income, right? But then back to the soccer piece, I love it because there's so many different parts that are going into it. But let's just talk about an investment standpoint. From an investment standpoint, when it comes to SoRare, they put $50 million into it. And this is with players like Antoine Griezmann, Gerard Piqué, and these are really big players within the soccer world. And then also Gary Vaynerchuk. He's been a big advocate for NFTs, trading cards, and the digital world. So it seems like they're all coming together and collabing. And also when it comes to SoRare, like Ubisoft, it's a gaming software company, I believe, and they created Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs. They partnered up with SoRare as well. And so it's just seeing all this interest and all this investment, time, energy, and resources being put into these NFTs. And it's just like, okay, we might have something on our hands. But like I said, you'll see throughout time that the NFTs that are here just because of the hype will soon fade away. And you'll see the ones that actually have some utility will be here for the long run.
Yeah. So Nate, do they offer these NFTs for sports other than soccer? Like, do they have it for like the NBA or NFL or anything?
Yeah, so they have NBA Top Shot. And like Justin was saying, they're just gifts of NBA players' dunks. So instead of just a still trading card, it's like they're gift dunks, right? But then we get into the conversation of, okay, cool. So we have these NFTs getting into the sports world, and they're possibly taking away some attention away from these video game companies. How will these video game companies feel about it? Well, you might see video games start to get in the NFT world where FIFA is going to compete with SoRare for some of these partnerships with these companies, right? To where that maybe they don't even compete, they just do a collab. And while you play FIFA, now you have the possibility of opening packs, but then owning the players that within the packs. And so then you provide something to even more allow people to buy your games and purchase your video games. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's why I really enjoy this piece. And then they were talking about, I forgot what article it was, but they were saying that, with owning, because you're an owner, you can't forget this. Like, that's a big piece. Ownership is huge within the world. You're an owner of these cards. And with being an owner, say you own a Ronaldo card, they're talking about the possibility of being flown out to Juventus games to watch Ronaldo play, be able to meet him. So it's like extra incentives in the real world that come with owning an NFT for these particular NFT brands.
Yeah, something else I really want to add to what you guys are saying too is I think there's an element too of people of influence, making their opinion on the subject as well. That's adding to the value of NFTs themselves. You know what I mean? So you have people like Jack Dorsey. Obviously, he's a very famous guy. He's the CEO of Twitter. He's going to have a lot of influence when he's selling his tweet. And then you have people like Elon Musk, or Elon Musk's wife, it was, right? And then you have Nate, like I said before, Gary V. Like, these people have a huge amount of influence, and that's only going to, I think, increase the value of NFTs and people's perception of NFTs. So that is going to be really interesting too, to see if other people of influence, as I like to call them, jump on the bandwagon of NFTs and increase their value.
Yeah, and that's why I keep going back to that utility piece. Like with FIFA, like they have problems with their trading cards and the trading card software, but SoRare, like it completely solves all the problems that FIFA has and then adds some new solutions on top of that. That's why I feel like, for me personally, I'm in it for the long run, because I understand what it brings from a value perspective. Now, when we talk about art's a little bit different, because now you're talking about the reputation of the artist, what they're known for, and possibly the brand and the following they have behind them, and then pricing and scarcity, like all these things are factors that go into art. So definitely there will be hype. There is hype, extreme amounts of hype around NFT. But when you're looking at an NFT to play around with or invest in, I would say two big factors play a role in this. One, do you actually enjoy what you could potentially be putting your money into? And then two, does it solve some type of problem? Does it have some type of utility? That's why Bitcoin and Ethereum win in a lot of the debates with these other cryptocurrencies, is because they have a utility, they have a purpose. Like Dogecoin, I believe, is just there, and somebody hyped it up to allow the price go up. But when that hype went down, so did the price. But if you have an NFT that has some type of value, when that hype leaves, the price will continue to go up because the value is still there.
Yeah, so going on Vincent's point about the influencers that are like projecting this out. Like the first time I ever saw anything about an NFT was when I was listening to Logan Paul's podcast, and he started talking about how he's making an NFT of, well, I think he's already sold it, of him like opening up the packs of Pokemon cards, and it was like the Charizard pull, like that's what he made an NFT. And I'm just like thinking, like, can anybody, all these influencers are gonna be rich off NFTs? They're just gonna keep pushing them out there and making a crap ton of money off them. Like, this is driven by culture. It's kind of like shoes. Like, it's kind of like waiting for the new like Air Jordan to drop from the sneaker shop. Like it's a culture driven industry.
Something I heard the other day, which I thought was pretty interesting, is like the future of marketing is personal branding, right? Like, so before it was big companies had brands and it was like you associated with Hershey's or Kellogg or Coca-Cola, but now it's like personalities. And that's why people are coming to a company. It's because Logan Paul uses Coca-Cola, or Logan Paul is selling this NFT. So I agree with you. I'll admit, Nate, dude, you sound so bullish on this, man. I'm a little skeptical on some of these things. So I was reading I don't know if you guys follow Michael Batnick in the Top Shot. He's been following like his whole Top Shot whole journey, opening all these packs. It's very similar to what you're talking about, Nate. All these different players, and it's been funny to watch the ride up and down. I'm curious to see where this influencer culture goes, because let me pose this question: is if there wasn't a personal brand attached to it, would it be valuable? Would people be buying it?
I want to chime in on this. I think another influencer is Mark Cuban, who's really pushing for NFTs. And I think that with any piece of art, with any collectible, it's all speculative. It's all based on, if one person thinks that it's valuable, then another person thinks it's valuable. It's the same with any collectible. All collectibles are kind of, the price kind of is arbitrary. It's not necessarily based on like what you can use it for. It's based on what somebody else thinks it's worth. And that's kind of I'm not really for NFTs. I think that it's definitely a new technology, and it's going to be worth something in the future. But I do think that a lot of it's speculative, and a lot of it's, as you guys said, a lot of it's just based off of influencers hyping it up and saying, oh, it's a big deal. Oh, we want to really invest into it. So I don't think that really depends on the value. It's more just on the market.
Yeah, so 2 episodes ago, we talked about ESG and how that is like becoming pivotal in the way companies run their business, right? And I was looking at the environmental impact of NFTs and the computing power required to operate the underlying blockchain system of NFTs are like it's unreal. So by some estimates, one crypto transaction could gobble up more than average US household uses in a single day. I was looking at an example is that one artist estimated that generating 6 NFT pieces consumed more electricity than his entire physical studio did in 2 full years. So, I mean, just going back on like ESG, it's becoming more important. The environment, protecting the environment is becoming more important. So this might be something that people will eventually look at a little more in depth and understand that there are consequences to using this much electricity. So I just want to chime that in.
Yeah, and I love the potentials that NFTs bring, but I also say this too. I haven't put any money into an NFT. Like I'm still doing my research. And I feel like a lot of things or a lot of factors play into NFTs being successful or being successful in the long run. One thing I'll point out is the fact that NFTs are funded by Ethereum. Ethereum is essentially a speculative asset. So you're funding a speculative NFT with a speculative asset. That's some pretty scary stuff. So, you might want to factor that into whether or not you're going to actually jump into this market. And another thing is, I don't know if you guys have ever like played with crypto or anything, but like there's mining fees. And so it's like a little fee for the transaction from your wallet into whatever you're trying to pay for. And like I was trying to just see how I could transfer $15 or like $15 worth of Ethereum into an NFT account. And the mining fee was like $12. So I would have had like $3 in my crypto account. So I'm like, what's the point? So that's another factor that plays into it, just how this whole crypto thing works, whether or not Ethereum will be successful. And if so, whether if NFTs could play a major role in helping Ethereum continue to see success. So, I mean, from that standpoint too, it's just like, be careful what you're putting your money into.
It's a great point, Nate. I just heard something the other day. I think it's Coinbase. I can't remember. Don't quote me, but one of these big popular crypto platforms, the SEC is currently looking into them because they charge like you're talking about a ridiculously high fee to transact on their platform, which is totally illegal on these brokerage firms. So it's like, we're knocking Robinhood, but like if Robinhood was charging the fees that some of these crypto places were charging, they would literally be in jail. They would be under investigation. So it's a great point, Nate. It's crazy to see that. The other thing I want to say is that, there is a lot of money out there, though. There's a lot of money sloshing around in the market. I think that NBA Top Shot I saw is like estimated market cap of like 1.8 billion. If you want to give that thing a market cap, because it's definitely not, I don't know what kind of valuations go into that, but it's certainly a lot of interest there. So it'll be interesting to see that in the future.
Yeah, Jake, something I also want to add too is like you're talking about like the energy consumption that it takes to download or to transact one of these NFTs. If you take a step back, it's really easy to think to yourself like, wow, this sounds like kind of interesting. It looks like it could have a lot of potential value. But then when you take a step back and look at how we're trying to make so many moves within the industry to like automobiles are moving toward electrification, we're moving towards renewable energy. That goes against a lot of what the economy is going towards right now. So it's going to be interesting to see the push of NFTs if it goes that way, and the development of renewable energy, and seeing if that mixes and if that makes it more valuable or less valuable. So,
yeah, I definitely.
Go ahead, Matt.
I definitely think it's kind of unfortunate. I know like the guy who founded Ethereum, he's trying to reduce it by like, he said 99%, but that was 2 years ago and it's still a problem today. So I think that, and the energy consumption for all like the listeners, it's a lot because it's a blockchain. So it has to go to a bunch of different computers all at once, and it creates this network, and it having to go to so many computers, that's why it uses so much energy. And I do think it's a negative, and it's something that people should pay attention to.
Does anybody have more insight on like the specifications of blockchain? Like, can someone explain to like a dot, like a fact, like what
Yeah.
is blockchain?
Yeah, mine wasn't that.
No, like I'm just curious because like I've been looking at it for a while now, and I still like I always have questions about it.
Bro, I don't
It's-
think anybody can. Go
Well,
ahead, Justin. If you can,
It's
go.
Yeah.
so we can okay, people can. Essentially a blockchain is a verifiable network. That's all you need to know. Is any will verify every single transaction from the time that thing was created up till the time you're purchasing it. That's what a blockchain is. Like, so it's not like a stock. When you buy a stock, the market's pricing it constantly. You can't see who bought it and sold it, or same with Bitcoin, right? Anything that operates in a blockchain, you can verify every owner and see what they paid for it at every step of the way. That's what it is.
So it's an open network to everybody, but it's like secure. So like you can't see other.
So it's not open to everybody. It's open just to the people who are doing the transaction. That's part of the security of it. So you as the buyer and the seller can verify it. And don't quote me on what degree that is, but part of it is the security that it isn't open to the public.
Yeah, and it definitely does make it more secure. It also, from what I read, it takes out the middleman. So if you're like a buyer and a seller, you usually have to go through a bank to do it, but through blockchain, it just goes straight from the buyer to the seller. And it also, as Justin said, it makes it a lot more secured and verified. And I think that's good because if I'm paying $590,000 for a video of a flying neon cat, I want to make sure that it's secure. Like, I think that's something that really kind of allows these investors to feel a little safer when they're doing these transactions.
Well, maybe that could be an episode. It's funny you guys say that because everybody I talk to, like, I'll just say it, who I don't know, who are veterans of the investing world, they're a lot more bullish on blockchain technology than they are any individual crypto asset or NFT. Everybody I talk to talks about blockchain is going to change the game. I don't know if Bitcoin will or NFT will or this will, but I know that the technology behind those things is the future of banking. I've heard so many people I really respect say that. So I believe that. I do, because all the reasons you just said, Matt. It's going to be powerful, and it's a digital way of security that we haven't seen before.
And I feel like for all those reasons, despite the huge impact that it has on the environment, they'll find some type of way to mitigate that impact just because of what it provides to the world. So, of course, we're seeing a lot of things like this is a brand new stage that we're seeing right now with crypto, with things involving crypto and the blockchain. But of course, throughout time, things evolve and things accustom to how we want it or how we best feel, how we feel that will best suit our needs. And so I feel like as time continues to go on, we'll see these things even out to where they're a little bit more or a little bit less of the speculative spectrum and more being more to be able to say like, okay, like this is a little bit more logical. Like I can view this and say that I'm comfortable with what I'm viewing. So I'm excited with what we're getting ourselves into.
Have you guys ever seen a Bitcoin ATM before? Yeah.
Yeah, there's one in Jonas.
In
Really?
every liquor store here in Lansing.
Yeah,
Really?
I don't know how it works. I don't know if you put like your phone up to it or something, but
I've wondered the
charge you-
same thing. Like I just saw one when I was in my way down to Florida, like this past week. I saw one at a party store, and I just wasn't aware of it before, but I thought that was just crazy.
$9.95 per transaction, baby. It's a good deal. What can you say?
and then that is true because I just got Coinbase and it's like for every $10 you buy, it's like a $1 fee. For every $25, it's a $150 fee. And I'm like, that's like 10% of like my freaking whatever I'm putting in. Like it's kind of useless. And like I think it can go to like you can only buy like 300 at a time and it'll be like a $3 fee. I'm like, it's still 1%. Like most commissions when you're doing brokerage firms, they're either free or like a just straight commission for everything, you know? Straight percentage commission too, even for Venmo too.
Wasn't Venmo? Venmo's like what, a little bit over 1%? I'm not too.
I think it's like 1.5% or something like that.
You bring up a good point. I know. Oh, sorry. Don't mean to cut you off, Jake. I know we want to get final thoughts here because I know some of us got to go. But you bring up a good point, Matt. this could be a whole nother conversation. Venmo is going to start, and PayPal accepting cryptocurrencies here pretty quick. I don't know what the date is, but I know that they announced in 2021 you're going to be able to transact in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies through Venmo. So what will that fee structure look like?
If you enjoyed the discussion, please like and share the podcast on Apple and Spotify. The Spartan Journal podcast is part of Michigan State University's Wealth Management Association, a student organization whose goal is to inspire the next generation of financial advisors. The Spartan Journal news team releases a newsletter every Monday morning comprised of financial literacy and the week's market updates. Feel free to follow us on social media at msuwma and check out our website at msuwma.com.
Anything heard on the MSU WMA podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be considered as investment advice.